for calling Harbor Freight Tools in Lake Forest. Anthony speaking. How can I help you?
Hi, Anthony. My name is Chris. I was wondering if you guys have the new spray gun from Harbor Freight, the Black Widow.
Yes, we do carry it. Yes.
You guys do?
Yes, we have it in stock.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Let's go get our spray guns. Can't forget our coupons. You're at Harbor Freight, where dreams come true. Let's go check it out. Alright. Heading straight to the spray guns. They got it? I don't know, I don't see it here. I'm not seeing it. I got all the other ones except... Shit, maybe you have to ask for it. Alright, let's go ask for it. Sweet, thank you. Here she is. Let's check her out. This is it. HVLP. Alright, let's go pay for this thing. Alright. So, we just walked out of there with the HTE version. They wanted to sell me the HVLP, but I really didn't want to take the HVLP. I really wanted to try out the HTE. So I'm pretty glad that they actually had it in stock. And I guess they're selling like hotcakes from what the guy was telling me. So anyway, let's go take this home and start the review. What is up, guys? Just a Mechanic, back with another video. Today I got the very special brand new spray gun from Harbor Freight called the Black Widow. This is the HTE version of it. They do make two versions. We have a HVLP 1.7 and a HTE 1.3, just like the other Spectrum series spray guns, except this gun has quite a few different features than the original Spectrum or the first ones that I did reviews on. So if you guys want to check out those videos on the other line of the Spectrum, not the Black Widow, then go ahead and check out in my videos, and I do have those listed on my channel. So anyway, back focused on the Black Widow. This is a brand new gun from Harbor Freight, still also made in Taiwan, which is actually the same company that makes the original Spectrum also makes this gun. Really, it has almost the same features, but if you haven't seen those videos already, I'm just gonna go straight to it. So the air consumption is 11.8 CFM at 35 PSI. Tip size is a 1.3. The recommended hose size is 1/4 inch inner diameter minimum, and it is a HVLP compliant. It does have a working input of 14 to 35 PSI. Also, the fan width identical to the original Spectrum at 12 inches. Alright, so without further ado, let's go ahead and unbox this sucker. Now, it does have something I haven't seen on a lot of the Harbor Freight guns. I haven't really seen them use this original product label. You usually find those on higher end guns like Satas or some DeVilbises, but for the most part, that's pretty unique. Anyway, let's go ahead and unbox this. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, Harbor Freight's newest gun, the Black Widow. Alright, so let's go ahead straight into this one and start with the disassembly of the Harbor Freight's HTE Black Widow. So we're going to start off with the air cap. Now I do notice that there is slightly different design here than the original, but almost identical. I mean, there's not much difference to this. You do have two seals here, which is a slight improvement from the original design. And the air cap, as you can see, is a brass machined part. Definitely, I do not see any flaws here as far as machining flaws. I will zoom into that real quick, but I kind of just want to go through all the features of the gun on the Black Widow. So, moving on, we are gonna look at the air nozzle. Let's go ahead and use the supplied tool. Now, I did loosen this previously. This thing was on there solid. I mean, it was tight, so just be aware of that. Try not to damage the nozzle. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove this, and definitely I do see a very minute difference on this nozzle compared to the original. A very minute, but in reality almost identical to the original. Now let me see if I can zoom here or refocus. Nope, doesn't want to focus. So anyway, you do see that indication right here, 1.3 fluid tip. This is the air nozzle, but let's go ahead and continue on. And here we have the air valve, which is a different design than the original. This actually feels a little bit better engineered, I guess you could say, the way that the air comes out, but almost identical. In fact, I don't think much has changed between the Black Widow and the Spectrum HTE or the original Spectrum, other than the air cap. So moving on, I'm gonna go ahead and take out the fluid control. The needle. And we do notice here we got a 1.3. Let me see if I could focus here. There you go, much better. So we got an indication it is a 1.3. Now I will say that the needle definitely looks a little bit better machined than the previous model. I think the previous model did have a little bit more of a rough surface. This needle has a completely butter smooth finish. This is something I would normally see in a very high-end spray gun, such as DeVilbiss, Sata, or many others. This is wow. This is starting to impress me. Let's go ahead and take a look back at that air cap. Sorry for the shaky video. As you can see, not much has changed here as far as the design of the air jets, but the machining quality is held to a higher standard on this air cap, and you can definitely tell the difference. And also, if we're looking at the gun body here on the HTE, let's see if we can get a little bit of light here. There you go. Come on, focus, damn it. Let me get a little light here. Just 1 second, please. Alright. So you can see a little bit of oil in there. You can see the air passages. But mostly, the grainage on the gun definitely indicates that it truly is a drop forged piece. Normally, you can tell by how tight the grainage is on the metal. And definitely, this is truly a forged piece, making the gun obviously more expensive to make. And they definitely did a very good job as far as making slight improvements on the Spectrum. Now, are these improvements really worth the price difference between the original Spectrum and the Black Widow? That's going to be for you to decide. But I will tell you some more features about this gun that maybe you didn't know or maybe didn't expect. And also, we're going to go ahead and look at the trigger. As you can see, it's silky smooth on the original. Actually, I have the original here. As you can see on the original, you got sort of a rough surface. Not buttery smooth, but basically the identical trigger, just with a different finish on it. And also the, if you notice here on the bottom here, they got rid of the finger recess here and here on the original. You see that you have the finger recesses here on the side, and you also have this little design here. They look like they got rid of the design and ended up with some nice features here, some grip stampings, and also the name is actually stamped instead of laser etched like on the previous model. Some minor differences here as well. You do see that the bottom where the air control used to be, at least on the original, the Black Widows has now been moved to the back. So now this is your air valve adjustment. So just very slight features have really changed, but definitely a higher quality. This has been held to a higher standard, and it definitely shows as far as the machining goes, the finish, the color selection, the overall forging of the material, the shape of it. There's no rough edges on here. Everything is nice and proper, and it really shows the quality that they actually did on this gun. They did an excellent job as far as manufacturing goes with the new DeVilbiss HTE. All right, so let's go ahead and do a slight comparison with the air caps with the Spectrums. All right, so going ahead and comparing air caps here. Here we have the Black Widows. You can see the design features on there. No machining marks or anything like that, no burrs, no leftovers from the manufacturing process, and you can see the jet designs there. Now here is the original Spectrum. You could kind of see some slight flaws in the center jets there, especially those right there. You can kind of see that they're not perfect, but they still do the job. You still get a fine finish, but they did not. I wouldn't say it's a sloppy manufacturing job, but they definitely did an improvement as far as the manufacturing process went. That went into the Black Widow. So definitely a change there. Now on the front, not much has changed there as well. You could look at it on the side. You could see that the air horns on the Black Widow are slightly more anorexic than the original Spectrum, but obviously not much change there. You can see a slightly difference right here in the valley of the air cap. Now, what differences does that really make? Not much, but as you can tell, the air horns are just slightly different, just ever so slightly. Let's see if I could get a good view there. Sorry, it's hard to see through the camera here. So not much difference there, not by much. So let's go ahead and move on to the air nozzle. So the one on my right hand side, which is this one, This is from the original Spectrum, and this is from the Black Widow. As you can see, well, maybe you can't see. So slightly different design here. The Black Widow has a slightly more dished design than the original Spectrum. As you can see right there. Both of them are high quality machine pieces. Let's see here. If there's anything really noticeable here. So not much different. Not much different at all. And you know, it kind of raises the question, you know, is it really worth the extra $40 to $70 for the Black Widow compared to the Spectrum, depending on if you pay the original price to the Black Widow for $199 or if you pay the discounted 20% off at, I believe it was $159 or $169, something like that. So, you know, it starts to raise the question, is this gun really that much better? Now, we do see a slight difference on the Black Widow's design here versus the original Spectrum. You have a little bit more of a fatter recess here versus the Black Widow. You can see it is just machined down just ever so slightly. And that is that. Now let's go ahead and compare the air valve to the new Black Widows versus the old, the Spectrum. So let's go ahead and move on to that. Alright, so going ahead and taking a look at the Spectrum's air valve. Now, not much difference here as well. You could see that they're almost identical. The new Black Widow actually has less holes here. As you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, versus the older HTE version has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have slightly better air control here. It's more than likely going to use a slightly more air pressure. And I believe it does state that it uses 35 psi. Now, going on to the front design, you can see almost identical design. Not much has changed here, but it looks like it was refined just ever so slightly to give you a slightly better air control. This also, so what this part does is it tends to create turbulence under the cap. So some of the major features on the Black Widow versus the original Spectrum are basically fine-tuned. They're fine-tuning this Spectrum, and it does. You do definitely notice it when comparing it side by side to the original Spectrum. From external, you might not really notice the differences between the Black Widow and the Spectrum, or at least to the untrained eye, you wouldn't really know. So those are some key features or key differences on the Spectrum. Now we're going to go ahead and compare the gun bodies, but I do need a little bit better lighting, so I'm going to get to a better position real quick. Alright, so I decided to get a little bit better of a view. Here I do need some lighting, but you can basically see just way better machining or manufacturing process on the Black Widow compared to the Spectrum. As you can see, this is a die cast piece and then finished off with some machining. I do see slight machining marks, not much, but it is there, and it does. You do definitely notice it. Now, I don't know if you can tell. If you look right in here, you could actually see the grainage of the die cast. Now we're going to go ahead and switch to the Black Widow, and that grainage is basically gone. Definitely noticeable that it is a forged piece. It is hard to see in there because the gun is black, but also the air passages are basically, they look like little moon shapes. Those are very well machined. I mean, it's immaculate. This is the type of quality that you would expect from a Sata or a DeVilbiss, an NS Iwata. I mean, you wouldn't expect this type of quality out of a Harbor Freight gun. Also, a key difference that I didn't notice before, you could see that there's actually a packing seal right here. This one is actually looks like some sort of metal, possibly aluminum. On the original Spectrum, oops, sorry guys, you could see it looks like it might be made out of some sort of maybe nylon or PVC plastic, maybe polypropylene or something like that. But definitely they did some slight improvements on the basically the Spectrum and onto the Black Widow. Basically all the weak links of the original Spectrum were improved with the Black Widow, and it definitely shows. Now the key differences are going to be on how it sprays. I don't imagine that that these features are really enough to be cost effective as far as paying the extra money for the Black Widow version versus the original. You know, for a consumer, for the DIY consumer, it's all about the bottom dollar. How cheap can I get this spray gun? And let me change positions real quick, and we'll start talking more about the Black Widow. All right, guys. So I have the Black Widow back in its original assembly, back together, and so now looking at the Spectrum overall, also comparing it to the original Spectrum back here, how good is the Black Widow? Well, you know, I have my pros and cons with this gun. Does it have pros over the original Spectrum back here? Yes, it does. It does have a lot of features that make it a high quality piece. You would expect this type of quality from a higher end gun within possibly 3 to 4 times its price range. I think honestly that this is comparable to the quality of possibly a real Sata. This is basically an identical looking Sata. This is basically a copy of a Sata as far as looks wise. Obviously there's going to be some features that make it different, but overall the Black Widow does seem to have really high standards as far as the manufacturing goes. They had a really strong discipline as far as the quality of machining, the quality of finishes. It really there's a lot of features on here that make this gun a true professional's gun. But it really comes down to the price. Is this gun priced so well that it can outsell the original Spectrum? And also, looking at the price, this gun is out of the DIY range. This is no longer a DIYer's, a home, a weekend warrior's spray gun. This is no longer a DIYer spray gun. This is right in the middle between professional or entry-level professional. This is no longer in the DIY. It's neither here or there. And the reason I say that is because this gun costs $199 original price. We're going to round that up to $200. Now for $200, you can buy an original NS Iwata Baleria, which is an extremely well-made gun. It's a good brand. It has backing. It has replaceable parts. It's serviceable, and it's going to last you many, many years. This is in that price range. Now, however, the Black Widow does not have replaceable parts. It is not a serviceable gun. This is basically an overpriced throwaway gun, as some of my followers have mentioned, or a lot of people that seen my videos will say, oh yeah, that's just an overpriced throwaway gun. And in some, and there's a valid point to that. This is a gun that is not serviceable. If you drop this gun, if something were to happen and you don't have the warranty on it, it's basically it's basically a throwaway gun at that point. You would have to replace the gun itself because possibly your air cap got damaged, or a seal went out, or some feature like that. So in that instance, it's not worth the money. The $199, even with a 20% off discount, you still have to question that. Is it that much better than the original Spectrum, which is this gun right here? Is it that much better? And in my honest opinion, I don't think it's much better than the Spectrum. Yes, it does have some features that make the Black Widow stand out quite a bit more. But if it were me, since I'm more of a DIY painter, I'm not a professional, but I do get professional results. And I can tell you right away that I would much rather buy this gun, the Spectrum, versus the Black Widow, because it comes down to price. Only because I myself am a DIYer. Do I have professional grade guns? Yes, I do. I have $300, $400 spray guns. And I can tell you that I see both. I understand that Harbor Freight wants to focus, and they have been for years, they want to focus on the professional grade consumer. They want to focus on the professionals. But this gun is neither here nor there. It doesn't meet the professional standards that a professional would look for. Like I just mentioned, the serviceability, the replacement parts. Are the parts readily available? Can they order a seal? Let's say that where the trigger goes, if that seal went out, would they be able to replace that seal? No. The answer is no. And for it to be priced at the price that it is, a professional is not going to look at this gun. Unfortunately, it is not. And also, a DIYer is not going to go look at the Black Widow per se, because, for the money you're getting the Black Widow, you might as well get the Spectrum and save some money. And also, the price range, you just blew away the DIYer. And I don't see the real benefit of the Black Widow versus the original Spectrum, in my honest opinion. I don't think it's worth the money. I think you're way better off with the original Spectrum. Does it have better features? Yes, it does. I'm going to give you that. It has better finish. It has better machining. It has better parts. It will probably last longer. But the key difference is going to come down to the price and the way it sprays. Those are the two main categories. And if you guys are wondering if I'm going to be spraying with this gun, yes, I am going to be spraying with this gun, but not in this video, because I want it to go against the HTE Spectrum. I want to see if this Spectrum, if this Black Widow could spray any better than the original HTE Spectrum. Because if it can't, then really you're just, you're basically paying for just better machining and powder coating, or anodizing. Other than that, I don't see the real cost to value benefit with the Black Widow compared to the Spectrum. Anyway, guys, that's going to be my review for this video. And hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment, like, or subscribe. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to do a video on the Black Widow. It just came out. I've been looking for it. I've been calling store to store, seeing if they carried it, and they just got it yesterday. So I went to go pick it up today, which obviously was the next day, and I finally got my hands on a Black Widow. Do I regret it? No, not really. I enjoy buying spray guns. I love spray guns. I have, from expensive to very cheap spray guns. Yes, I basically have them all. But I will not be returning this one only because I do want to make a video on the Black Widow versus the Spectrum. So I will be doing what I like to call a spray gun shootout. So if you guys would like to see that video, please give it a like, give it a comment, and in the comment section below, write down shootout. That way I know that you guys are actually interested in the Black Widow versus the original Spectrum, which is back here. All right, guys. Well, I'm Just a Mechanic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Catch you on the next one.